He remembered how, in his past life, he had once suggested to his friend that everyone in the guild wear traditional haho masks. Back then, he had been overflowing with enthusiasm, even proposing that the very next day they rename the guild to Haho Mask. The memory darkened his mood instantly. For a brief moment, he even considered abandoning his current style altogether. Hyrcanus clenched his teeth and swore that he would never again allow anyone to take what rightfully belonged to him. Filled with smoldering rage, he firmly declared to himself that he would prove he was right, and that this moment marked the beginning of his new story. Placing the sinister mask over his face, he leapt forward and called for the skeleton to follow. Before long, the two arrived at another dungeon. They stepped through the portal together, and the system announced that Hyrcanus had entered the cave dungeon of Mount Bhima. The hero carefully examined the markings carved into the stone walls, and immediately recalled that blue werewolves were known to inhabit this place. He knew all too well that these monsters were dangerous. Still, with his newly acquired equipment, he believed he could clear the dungeon in no more than 10 minutes. Confidently, he ordered his companion to move ahead. However, several hours later, Hyrcanus found himself in complete despair. Not a single monster had appeared. He could not understand what was happening. If the dungeon had already been cleared, the system would have issued a notification. Then he noticed something strange etched into the stone. In the next instant, an overwhelming surge of dark energy erupted from the wall. The system immediately notified him that he had discovered an instance dungeon and asked whether he wished to enter. Hyrcanus collapsed onto the ground in shock, finally understanding why no monsters had appeared. Instance dungeons could randomly spawn within regular dungeons, and until they were cleared, the surrounding area would remain sealed. He knew very well that instance dungeons were far more difficult, but in return they offered double the rewards. Once inside, there was no leaving until the objective was completed or death claimed the player. Rising to his feet, Hyrcanus considered turning back. Dying here would lock him out of the game for 2 entire days, and farming simpler quests would have been far safer. But he understood that this was different. When the system confirmed entry, Hyrcanus stepped into the portal, telling himself that everything would be fine, at least until he died. A blinding light engulfed him. When his vision cleared, he found himself standing in a place that resembled a coliseum, suffused with an oppressive atmosphere. Suddenly, a massive impact shook the ground. In the next moment, a gigantic and sinister werewolf appeared before him, an infected werewolf of unknown level. The creature did not hesitate for even a second and immediately charged. Still struggling to grasp what was happening, Hyrcanus failed to defend himself and was violently slammed into the wall. Seeing his master in danger, the skeleton flew into a rage and instantly took a combat stance. Hyrcanus, however, burst out laughing, calling his luck insane. A corrupted monster stood before him. Surely this had to be part of a main quest. He called out to his companion, making it clear that if they failed to defeat the werewolf, they could forget about dinner. With that thought, Hyrcanus rushed forward. The skeleton drew his sword and prepared to follow, then abruptly drove the blade into the ground, offering it as support. Using it as leverage, Hyrcanus kicked off and launched himself straight at the infected werewolf. The beast released a deafening howl. Midair, Hyrcanus activated Curse Remove. His blade instantly filled with demonic energy. The werewolf froze in confusion, staring at him in horror, and in the next instant, one of its arms was severed. The monster screamed in agony as the system announced that the skill had successfully activated and the target stats had been reduced by 10%. As the beast writhed, Hyrcanus glanced at his sword, noting that for a first attempt, the result was more than satisfactory. But the werewolf, now bathed in a blood-red aura and completely maddened, lunged at him once more. A warning message appeared, stating that the werewolf had entered a berserk state and all applied effects had been cancelled. Hyrcanus steadied himself, mentally acknowledging that this was exactly what one should expect from a dungeon boss. Then he smiled. Deciding it was time to reveal something he had been saving, he opened his inventory and unleashed a torrent of dark energy. It enveloped his body completely before exploding outward in a violent flash. When the light faded, Hyrcanus emerged clad in battle armor, laughing as he asked where they had left off. This was slot activation, an ability unique to warlords. When activated, the slot forced energy through the player's body, enhancing their attributes and altering their appearance. The resulting form was always unpredictable, different for every user, earning it the nickname Ultimate Ability among players. Hyrcanus gestured toward the infected werewolf, daring it to come. The monster roared and charged, but Hyrcanus dodged its attacks with ease. After several maneuvers, he leapt back to create distance. The beast attacked again with terrifying force, and Hyrcanus noted grimly that this opponent was unquestionably a boss. Its speed and strength made that much clear. As the werewolf continued its reckless assault, leaving momentary openings, Hyrcanus spotted one. His energy-wreathed sword came down in a devastating strike, drawing another agonized scream from the monster. Hyrcanus smiled. Moments like this were what made the game truly thrilling. Then the ground trembled again. The werewolf was still alive and attacked once more. Hyrcanus sighed, reminding himself that relaxing against a berserk enemy was dangerous. As the beast slashed wildly, he merely smiled and glanced to the side, wondering if his skeleton had forgotten something. In the next instant, the skeleton leapt onto the werewolf, delivering a crushing blow and severing its remaining arm. Hyrcanus ordered his servant to use the technique they had practiced together. The werewolf faltered, completely overwhelmed. The combined assault of master and servant descended upon it in a storm of blows so fast the creature had no time to react. In seconds, the monster was reduced to pieces. The system announced that the infected werewolf had been defeated. Hyrcanus deactivated slot activation and nodded in satisfaction. It had gone better than expected. The system confirmed the completion of the Bima Mountain Cave mission and awarded 10 gold coins. It also announced that the skeleton warrior had defeated a high-level monster, upgrading the Bone Shard skill to rank E. While the skeleton celebrated its victory, Hyrcanus reflected that instance dungeons truly did offer superior rewards. Among the loot was the necklace of the infected ranger, a unique story item that increased all stats by 18. He was stunned by the find. While the necklace couldn't be sold, its value far surpassed standard equipment. His surprise deepened when the system granted him 3 titles at once: Promising Newcomer, Hero Aspirant, and Infected Ranger. Hyrcanus suspected this marked the introduction to the first chapter of the main storyline, the Infected Count. He knew better than anyone that main quests formed the backbone of Warlord's world, and their rewards were nothing short of colossal. They were the heart of the game itself. Trembling with excitement, he realized that even in his past life, he had barely reached the 4th chapter. This wasn't just luck, it was a true jackpot. Deciding not to push his fortune further, he logged out immediately. On the news, a player solemnly announced that the Hydra Guild had officially entered the final chapter of the Infected Count scenario and intended to complete it within 3 months. Jason stopped the broadcast, his heart sinking. What had moments ago felt like a jackpot suddenly seemed insignificant. Frustration boiled over, and he slammed his head against the table, realizing how far ahead the guild already was. For a moment, he wondered if his only option was to step aside and wait for the next chapter. Then a new thought struck him. Rushing back to the computer, Jason realized this might be his chance. The entire world was focused on the Infected Count scenario, and Warlord's first main storyline was nearing its end. Posting his video now could make all the difference. It could go viral. He knew he had done a good job recording everything. Now all that remained was editing and uploading it to Tube. And for that crucial task, there was only one person he trusted. A legendary figure from his past life surfaced in his memory. A girl, the renowned editor known as Romani. Seeing the request, she paused, wondering who this Hyrcanus was supposed to be. As Romani reviewed the details, she couldn't help but scoff inwardly. What could a level 15 player possibly accomplish? She assumed it was nothing more than a beginner clearing an initial cave, likely some wealthy newbie recording content for social media. But then her eyes caught on a single detail. Her expression changed instantly. A certain name surfaced in her memory, and the realization filled her with genuine excitement. Romani was a freelance video editor, known in-game by the nickname Hellmouth, and she very rarely felt this intrigued by random requests. This one was different. The scene shifted to the city center, where towering skyscrapers pierced the sky. Inside one of them, a woman dressed in a sharp red suit sat watching the news on her tablet. Moments later, her subordinate entered the room and asked whether she had summoned him. She replied calmly that a new video related to the infected count scenario had just appeared. What caught her interest, she explained, was that the footage showed a level 15 player defeating an infected werewolf alone. The man responded that their team had already noticed the player, but monsters of that level were far too insignificant to warrant surveillance. The woman merely smiled, a slow, knowing smile, and said that she liked the video. After a brief pause, she issued a clear order. Bring the player from the recording to her. This woman was Chelsea, the head of Thunder Group Corporation, the largest business conglomerate in the world. Within Warlord, she was known as the Thunder Queen Syrah. The next day, Jason stared at his phone screen in disbelief. The video he had uploaded just yesterday had already surpassed 6,000 views. The number felt unreal, almost uncomfortable. In his past life, it had taken him months to achieve even a fraction of that attention. A message arrived from Romani, asking if he had seen the view count. Only then did Jason realize that something else had changed as well. She had messaged him first. That alone was unusual. Romani had a reputation for being distant, mysterious, and nearly impossible to reach. Yet not only had she initiated contact, she also asked when he planned to send her the next video. Jason leaned back, exhaling slowly. The truth was, he had no idea what to do next. He knew he wouldn't encounter another monster like that infected werewolf anytime soon. After some thought, he concluded that it would be smarter to resume recording only after reaching level 50. Still, despite his doubts, he powered up the VR device and began logging into the game. Whatever the risks, he understood one thing clearly. When opportunity knocks, you strike while the iron is hot. And that's where our video ends. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and leave a comment down below. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you're updated on our next content. Until the next video.